The orphan girl stood at the edge of the camp, her small frame trembling against the gusting wind eyes, sharp and unyielding. She pointed toward the jagged canyon beyond the hills, the place where the tribe's finest warrior had vanished 3 days before. And yet not a soul had uttered his name to her. The wind tore at her tattered clothing, whipping her dark hair across her face, but she remained unmoved, a silent sentinel standing against the restless wilderness. Around her, the Apache camp was alive with tension. Smoke from cooking fires curled upward into a slate-gray sky, and the anxious murmurs of the tribe mingled with the shriek of the wind through the canyons. Boone, the tracker and warrior whose name carried respect among all, had disappeared without a trace, and the fear in every heart was palpable. Chief Red Hawk, his weathered face lined from years under the scorching sun and bitter winter nights, stepped forward, his eyes narrowing at the sight of the girl. Orphans rarely ventured this far into matters of warriors and battles. They were the tribe's quiet watchers, at best learning to survive on scraps and leftover wisdom. Yet here was this child pointing with the certainty of one who had walked these lands 1,000 times, tracing shapes in the dust with her fingers, as if she were mapping the hidden paths of the canyon in her mind. The elders whispered among themselves, exchanging skeptical glances. How could a child know what seasoned hunters and trackers had failed to uncover for 3 long days? The girl's name was Willa, though few remembered to call her anything. She'd grown up wandering the edges of the Apache lands, living with what little she could gather, and surviving on wit's instinct and a deep, inexplicable understanding of the land around her. She could read the subtle cues of the earth, a scuff of a hoof in soft soil, a stone displaced slightly from its natural position, the faintest rustle in a bush that marked the passing of a creature or a man. Her small hands moved with precision as she traced invisible lines across the dirt, her dark eyes catching details that even the most experienced scouts might overlook. There was something in her gaze, a knowing, almost otherworldly quality that sent a chill down the spine of anyone who looked too long. Red Hawk studied her closely, noting how she seemed unafraid of the canyon's looming cliffs and the dangers that lay beyond. He had led his warriors through countless hunts and skirmishes, yet there was a raw certainty in this girl that unsettled him. The men around him shifted nervously, torn between awe and suspicion. Could this child truly know the location of their missing warrior, or was she spinning fantasies born of desperation and hunger? Malachi, a grizzled man who had survived too many conflicts to trust, easily muttered his doubts under his breath, warning that clever children sometimes preyed on the tribe's hope for shelter or sustenance. But Willa did not flinch. Her small fingers continued to trace patterns in the dust, her gaze lifting occasionally to the distant canyon, sharp and unwavering. Every movement spoke of knowledge beyond her years, a mastery of the land that should have been impossible. The tribe's uncertainty hung thick in the air, mingling with the cold gusts that swept the camp. All eyes were on her, and in that tense silence, a single question weighed on every heart. Was this child's insight real, or were they about to chase shadows into the unforgiving wilderness? For a moment, the wind carried only her steady breath and the distant cry of a hawk circling above. Then slowly, she turned back to Chief Red Hawk, her expression unreadable, and whispered words that made the old chief's pulse quicken. "I saw everything. I know where he fell." In that instant, the tribe was suspended between disbelief and hope, and the story of a small orphan girl who might just hold the key to their greatest crisis was about to unfold. Willa stepped carefully onto the rocky slope, her bare feet finding purchase where even the most seasoned scouts faltered. Behind her, Chief Red Hawk and his warriors followed in cautious silence, the tension in the group mounting with each precarious step. Loose stones shifted beneath their weight, the wind carrying whispers of warning through the canyon walls. Yet Willa moved as if the land itself guided her, her eyes scanning every scratch on a rock, every displaced pebble, every subtle indentation in the soil. These were not just footprints. They were stories, secrets the land had kept hidden, now revealed to her alone. She paused at a narrow ledge and knelt, tracing a pattern in the dust with a delicate finger. "The horse stumbled here," she said softly, pointing to a cluster of rocks that had been knocked loose. "He tried to climb free, but the stones gave way." Her voice was calm, almost casual, yet there was an intensity that forced the adults to stop and consider. Malachi's face tightened as he muttered under his breath, suspicion flickering in his eyes. He had been part of the search for 3 long days and had found nothing yet. This child seemed to read the terrain with unerring certainty. "Or is this some clever ruse?" he whispered, doubt lacing his tone. But Willa did not waver. She listened to the faint echoes of the canyon, the distant rustle of brush, the low, irregular neigh of a horse. Each sound confirmed what her eyes had already told her. "I heard them arguing," she murmured, her gaze fixed on a dark crevice ahead. 2 men, one wanted to help him, the other left him for dead. The words made the hairs on Red Hawk's neck stand up. The missing warrior's disappearance had been deliberate. The girl's small frame belied the sharpness of her mind. She pieced together events that seasoned trackers had missed entirely. As they continued deeper into the rocky terrain, the air thickened with suspense. Every member of the group strained to keep pace, not just with Willa's uncanny agility, but with the mounting realization that she was leading them into truths no one had uncovered. Her hands hovered over disturbed stones, her gaze following faint imprints invisible to the casual observer. "The horse's tracks lead northeast," she said, crouching beside a patch of soil that seemed unremarkable to anyone else. They carried more than supplies. Someone planned this escape carefully. Red Hawk's warriors exchanged uneasy glances. Malachi's suspicion hardened into anger. The canyon itself seemed to respond to her presence. Shadows shifted, sunlight gleamed on hidden ledges, and the wind whispered warnings of peril ahead. Willa's calm determination contrasted sharply with the tension around her. She moved with the fluidity of someone born to this land, weaving through narrow passages, crossing unstable rock faces, and pausing only to interpret the silent language of the earth. Each step, each gesture was evidence that this child possessed a mastery of the wilderness far beyond her years. Her observations gradually revealed more than just the location of the missing warrior. They exposed the betrayal that had left him to suffer. Malachi, lurking behind the group, recognized some of the signs she uncovered, and unease flickered across his weathered face. Willa's eyes met his, briefly sharp and fearless, hinting that she knew more than she let on. The small girl had become both guide and investigator, threading through the canyon with a confidence that drew the tribe forward, reluctant, yet compelled each footstep a reminder of the stakes they faced. By mid-afternoon, Willa had led the group to a narrow ravine where the traces of struggle became undeniable. Stones were disturbed, vegetation bent unnaturally, and a faint scent of blood mingled with the dry canyon air. Red Hawk's heart pounded not with fear of the canyon itself, but with awe and apprehension at the clarity of the child's insight. The warriors behind him began to murmur quietly, a mixture of disbelief and admiration. They had doubted her at first, yet now every sign confirmed that this small, matted-haired orphan was not merely lucky or imaginative. She was precise, intelligent, and courageous, a tracker, an observer, a problem solver, and she was leading them straight to the truth. In that tense, silent moment, Willa paused, lifted her gaze toward the distant canyon walls, and whispered, "We are close. I can feel him. He is waiting for us." Her voice carried a quiet authority that silenced the murmurs behind her. The tribe followed, hearts pounding, drawn onward by a combination of fear, hope, and growing admiration. For in that wild, unforgiving landscape, it was not brute strength that guided them now, but the sharp mind and unwavering courage of a child who had never known fear in the face of danger. The canyon narrowed as Willa led the group deeper into the shadowed ravine. The scent of earth and dust was thick, and the jagged rocks beneath their feet threatened to send even the most careful warrior tumbling. Every step brought them closer to the place where Boone had fallen, and Willa's eyes scanned relentlessly, picking up disturbances that would have gone unnoticed by anyone else. There, among the boulders and scrub, lay the signs of treachery hoofprints that led to a small, hidden clearing and scattered belongings that did not belong to the missing warrior. Willa crouched low, her dark hair falling across her face as she surveyed the scene. Fletcher and another man, the true culprits, were rifling through the stolen supplies, oblivious to the approaching group. Their movements were deliberate, practiced, yet Willa noted every subtle shift of weight, every hesitant glance, as if reading them like an open book. "They do not know we are here," she whispered, her voice barely carrying over the rush of the wind through the canyon. "But we must move carefully. One false step, and all is lost." Chief Red Hawk signaled for his warriors to spread out, taking cover behind boulders and brush, but he did so reluctantly. He had witnessed Willa's skill for hours now, yet the girl's audacity unsettled him. She was small, young, and unarmed, yet she was clearly in command of the situation. With a hand gesture, she instructed him and the others to create a distraction on the far side of the clearing. Rocks tumbled and clattered down the slope, drawing Fletcher's attention just long enough for Willa to slip through the shadows toward the stolen horse and Boone's scattered weapons. The ground was treacherous, slick with loose shale and jagged stones, but Willa moved with the precision of someone who had been navigating these wilds since birth. Her breaths were measured, and her eyes never wavered from the target. She reached Boone's paint horse, still saddled and laden with supplies, and knelt to untie it, her movements deliberate, careful, yet swift. Fletcher's attention was drawn away, and Willa seized the moment to remove his rifle from its pack, keeping herself hidden behind rocks while training both weapons on the unsuspecting thief. "Fletcher," she called out, her voice steady and commanding despite her youth. The man spun, eyes wide, realizing that this small figure held authority and lethal skill. "Drop your weapon and step away." His mind raced, caught between disbelief and the threat she posed. The canyon echoed with the wind and the distant cries of hawks. Yet it was Willa's voice that dominated the moment, leaving no room for hesitation. The confrontation was brief but decisive. Fletcher hesitated, calculating his chances before lowering the rifle as Willa approached with unerring confidence. Behind her, Red Hawk's warriors emerged silently, surrounding the clearing, ready to enforce the girl's commands. Boone weakened, and groaning in pain lay hidden among the rocks, but Willa moved to his side, pressing her ear to his chest and assessing his condition with surprising competence. She began tending to his wounds, applying crude but effective splints and bandages, her calm demeanor easing the tension in the group. Malachi, realizing the situation was slipping from his control, tried to argue, but Willa's unwavering gaze met his with the force of someone far older and far wiser. The stolen supplies were accounted for, the horse secured, and the traitors were at last subdued. Boone's breath grew steadier under Willa's care, and the first faint signs of relief spread across Red Hawk's face. The warrior had survived thanks not to brute strength or numbers, but to the cunning courage and leadership of a girl the tribe had once overlooked. The danger had not yet passed. The canyon remained an unpredictable adversary, with every loose stone a potential threat. But Willa's skill had transformed a desperate pursuit into a controlled rescue. She stood beside the recovering Boone, surveying the subdued culprits and the reclaimed horse, a sense of quiet authority radiating from her small figure. For the first time, the tribe saw what they had been missing all along. True leadership does not depend on size, age, or birthright. It depends on courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act when others falter. By the time the group prepared to move back toward camp, the tension had eased slightly, replaced by awe and newfound respect. Boone's grateful gaze followed Willa as she guided the warriors and the recovered supplies along the treacherous canyon paths, each step a testament to the extraordinary skill and indomitable spirit of a child who had faced danger head-on and emerged not just unscathed but victorious. The journey back to the Apache camp unfolded with a quiet majesty, the canyon walls echoing the soft shuffle of boots and hooves over rocky paths. Willa led the group with unwavering confidence, her eyes constantly scanning the rugged terrain for hazards. The warriors, once skeptical of her youth and stature, followed without hesitation, instinctively recognizing the authority she commanded. Each step she took seemed to carve a path not just through the wild landscape, but through the hearts of those who had doubted her, leaving behind a trail of respect and awe. The morning sun struck the cliffs with a fiery glow, illuminating the narrow ridges and casting long shadows that danced across the path. Willa paused occasionally, adjusting the pace, checking the recovered horse, and ensuring Boone, still weak, but gradually regaining strength, could keep up. The once missing warrior, supported by the chief's strongest men, glanced repeatedly at Willa, a mixture of gratitude and admiration evident in his eyes. "I owe you my life," he murmured quietly, his voice rough from days of injury and strain. "You came back for me?" "Twice." Her only response was a faint nod, her focus never leaving the path ahead, yet her eyes held a quiet pride that spoke volumes. Behind her, the subdued culprits Malachi and Fletcher were carefully escorted under watchful eyes, their earlier arrogance replaced with the weight of accountability. They had underestimated the girl who had grown up on the fringes, assuming that youth and small stature equated to weakness. Now, their fate was a cautionary tale etched clearly in the dust behind Willa's steady steps. Just as swift and unyielding moved alongside the warriors, a reminder that actions born of deceit and cruelty would always meet their reckoning. As the camp came into view, the tension gave way to a swell of emotion. Children ran forward, their eyes wide with wonder, while elders lifted hands in recognition of a hero who had once been invisible. The tribe's members lined the path, a living testament to trust and unity, as Willa led the procession with Boone's recovered paint horse at her side. The transformation was remarkable. From an orphan child scouring the edges of survival, she had become a symbol of resilience and courage, a bridge between fear and hope for the entire community. Boone, now able to sit upright on the horse, with assistance raised a weathered hand in acknowledgement of Willa's bravery. The warrior's voice carried through the camp as he recounted the ordeal, praising her unwavering determination and skill. His words, simple yet profound, spread like fire among the assembled tribe. The girl who had once begged for scraps had now saved their finest tracker and led the people home. Murmurs of admiration swept through the group, a collective acknowledgement of a new chapter in the tribe's story, one in which courage and intelligence, not merely age or lineage, determined honor and respect. Chief Red Hawk stepped forward as the procession approached the central fire, his eyes reflecting both pride and humility. He had watched Willa navigate the canyon, confront the culprits, and ensure the safety of his people with a clarity and precision that defied her years. Now he publicly recognized her as a member of the tribe, a living testament to the strength found in those who act with integrity and skill. The child who had once wandered alone at the edges of their lands was now inseparable from the community she had helped protect. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a mixture of relief, respect, and renewed faith in the bonds that held the tribe together. Each warrior, each family member had witnessed firsthand that leadership and valor could emerge from the most unexpected places. Willa's actions reminded everyone that courage is not measured by size, status, or past misfortune, but by the choices one makes in the face of danger and injustice. As the sun dipped low over the canyon, painting the sky in hues of orange and crimson, the tribe celebrated their safe return and the triumph of a young girl who had become their guide, protector, and inspiration. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon with soft shades of gold and crimson, Willa rode at the forefront of the Apache procession, her posture steady, eyes alert, and expression filled with quiet determination. The tribe followed in respectful silence, each warrior and family member instinctively recognizing that this small girl, once overlooked and dismissed, now carried the weight of leadership with grace and courage. She had led them through treacherous terrain, navigated the hidden dangers of the canyon, and confronted those who sought to harm their people. In doing so, she had become more than a guide. She had become a symbol of trust, wisdom, and integrity. Boone, recovering from his injuries and now able to sit upright with the support of his fellow warriors, rode beside her. His eyes, reflecting a mixture of gratitude and amazement, followed Willa's confident movements. "You've saved me. And more than that, you've reminded us all of what true courage looks like," he said softly. Around them, the members of the tribe shared glances of admiration, whispers of respect flowing quietly through the procession. It was not merely Willa's skill that impressed them, but her steadfast commitment to what was right, her unwavering intelligence, and the moral clarity she had demonstrated in moments of danger. The journey back to the winter camp became a living testament to the values that defined the Apache people: loyalty to family and community, respect for their culture and land, and the courage to act in defense of those who could not protect themselves. Willa's leadership highlighted the enduring truth that bravery and wisdom are not determined by age or size, but by the choices one makes when confronted with life-or-death challenges. Her actions had saved Boone, thwarted the traitors, and restored balance to the tribe, but they also offered a lesson for every member that the measure of a person is found in their deeds and in their commitment to justice. For modern audiences, Willa's story resonates far beyond the canyon and plains of the Apache lands. In today's world, where the fast pace of life can overshadow acts of kindness and integrity, her tale is a reminder that courage, intelligence, and moral conviction remain vital. Standing up for what is right, protecting the vulnerable, and approaching challenges thoughtfully and decisively can have far-reaching effects, shaping communities, influencing lives, and leaving a legacy that endures long after the immediate danger has passed. As the procession reached the heart of the camp, the elders and warriors stepped forward to honor Willa, recognizing her not only as a hero, but as a true member of the tribe. She had earned her place through courage, skill, and steadfast integrity. The once marginalized orphan now held a position of honor, leading her people with the quiet authority that only genuine valor can command. The smiles, nods, and murmurs of approval from those around her were an unspoken acknowledgement of the transformative power of courage, loyalty, and wise action. And to those watching this story unfold, today remember that courage and intelligence are timeless virtues. If the story of this brave Apache girl inspires you, please follow Epic Western Stories, share, like, and leave a comment below. Explore more tales where bravery, destiny, and humanity collide, and join us in celebrating the actions that make a difference. Your support keeps these stories alive, reminding us all that even in the harshest landscapes, whether of the wilderness or modern life, integrity, courage, and heart can prevail.